It looks like they've got everything popped up. Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone here to the Ban the Box press conference. We have a number of individuals here who I want to introduce. Obviously, you know Delegate Krupicka from Alexandria. And he had brought the bill sort of on his own initiative and on his own inspiration. I was not so inspired until I spoke to Councilwoman Michelle Mosley, who represents the 9th Councilmanic District here in Richmond. And so I'm sort of mimicking her. She brought this legislation in the city of Richmond. We have Gail Arnell and David, am I pronouncing this right, Lucas?
Yes, that's close enough.
Okay, close enough. Government with OAR. Keith DeBelasio from Advocare Incorporated, Carla Peterson from Virginia Cure, Catherine Payne from Pappas, Richard Walker from Bridging the Gap, and Frank Kanek from the ACLU. I'm going to start off and then pass it off to Rob in just a second, but we're dealing with House Bill 93, which is, of course, is Rob's bill and my bill, SB 250. We come from the perspective of those who have paid their debt to society deserve a fresh start. The punishments handed down by our judicial system were already calibrated to match the crime. Once the punishment is over, everything should be over. Past convictions shouldn't be an albatross around the neck of those who are trying to make a new start, and obviously being successful in making a new start means that you can get a job. Ban the Box will make it easier for former convicts to reassimilate. Logically, having a job reduces the economic pressures that can lead someone to commit a crime. Employment also offers the kind of structure and context that can help a former inmate reintegrate into society. Unsurprisingly, the studies have repeatedly shown that steady employment sharply reduces recidivism. Those are just some of the reasons why Ban the Box is the right thing to do. Our legislation would deal with that on the state level. Localities such as the city of Richmond have already taken the lead and showing us in state government the way to go. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Rob.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Ban the Box is common sense policy to help ex-offenders get back into the workforce, to reduce recidivism, and quite frankly, to save Virginia prison costs. This is also an important liability issue for Virginia. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has started to take actions against employers that fail to hire someone solely due to a criminal background. There's been a few notable cases already taken, and Virginia, and really any employer at this point that has that box on that employment application and uses that solely as the tool by which they choose whether someone has an opportunity to be employed or not, may run the risk of a lawsuit. So this is not only good for getting people back into society and giving people a chance to re-enter society and be successful, this is also a good common sense policy to keep Virginia out of harm's way with the courts. And with that, you've got a few more people to introduce.
I thought I would have Councilwoman come up and Councilwoman Mosley come up and share the Richmond experience.
Hello, everyone. I want to first extend a special thanks to both Delegate Krupicka and Senator Donna McEachin for their mind, if I must say, out of the box thinking as it relates to fairness, justice, and a word from a book that I love that says redemption. What happened when Richmond banned the box? When Richmond banned the box, we said as a city that we would no longer enclose persons, but open the doors of opportunity. When Richmond banned the box, we said as a city, we would no longer contain individuals who purposed in their lives to move forward, but that we would release them on a path of true self-determination. When Richmond banned the box, we said as a city that incarceration in and of itself would no longer be a death sentence, but that if you did a crime and did your time and had been rehabilitated, then we welcomed your chance to reintegrate and contribute to our great society. Overnight, Richmond became a model, a leader, and a symbol for a sense of justice and equality. Overnight, previously excluded persons dared to dream of inclusion. They left the fear of the box at home and walked with confidence. Other locales followed our example, such as Petersburg, as we followed Newport News, and I hope the Commonwealth as a whole will follow. I fully support the House bills. We did ban the box in Richmond because it was time, because it was right. The same conditions hold true for our entire great state of Virginia. We are a better Richmond for passing the ban the box law, and so will we be a better Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you all so much, and to our legislators for introducing this important piece of legislation. Let me just give you a few facts and figures, and then I'd like to introduce you to one of our OAR clients who can tell you a kind of personal perspective on these things. Virginia prisons release about 1,300 prisoners each year. The cost of incarcerating someone in a Virginia prison is $25,000 and up a year. So it's pretty important, even from a financial point of view, that these folks don't come home, don't go back to prison. The research shows that those who are employed, or those who are unemployed, are 2.1 times more likely to reoffend, or in fact commit another crime. So it's a safety issue as well as a financial issue. 75% of former offenders remain unemployed for up to a year. That number is way too high. We need to bring it down. And one of the barriers is the box on the application which reads, "Have you ever been convicted of a crime?" We need to get that box off. We're not saying that an employer doesn't have the right to know about a criminal conviction. And in fact, we at OAR talk to our clients about how to disclose that in an effective way. And we go another step. We say, tell the person interviewing you that you're pleased to answer any questions, and that they have it's legal for them to ask you any questions. A lot of employers don't know if it's legal to ask. It's legal. Invite them to ask whatever in order to facilitate that communication. But we need to get the box off the application. Let me introduce to you Daphne Essex. She's one of our clients, and I'd like you to hear her story.
Let me apologize to everybody. I've been summoned to present a bill, so I'm going to take my leave of you, but you're in great hands. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you for letting me speak. My name is Daphne Essex. I'm a returning citizen that was convicted in 2010 for a nonviolent crime. After completing my sentence and receiving helpful treatment and counseling, I was eager to move on with my life and rejoin society. One of my first goals was finding employment, which I soon found out was nearly impossible due to the felony conviction I had on my record. As a result of that, I got the same thing at every interview. No callbacks, no interviews, the same thing. What made the situation more frustrating is that I knew I had some skills to offer. I'm an armed forces veteran. I helped to install the 911 system in Baghdad, Iraq, as well as the communications in Amman, Jordan. I have received accolades from both the Department of Defense as well as the State Department. My skills and experience should not be ignored because of one mistake, and a mistake which they later found out was due to me having PTSD. I firmly believe that once a person completes their sentence and pays their debt to society, that should be the end of their punishment. But policies like the felony conviction box on employment applications forces you to relive your offense over and over and over and over again. And it makes you feel as if you're serving your sentence constantly. All of this comes at a cost to both the individual as well as society. The individual suffers because he can't move forward in life, and society suffers because employers are weeding out people who would otherwise be great employees and could really put forth a great contribution. I urge Virginia lawmakers to pass legislation to ban this box so that people like myself can realize their basic human right to work and earn a living. Banning the box would level the playing field by giving more ex-offenders like myself and others the opportunity to get to the interview stage at least, and highlight on their skills, not on what they did in the past. And also not a check mark on an application as well. Because in the end, all people want the same things. We want to be able to take care of our families, we want to be able to provide for ourselves, and this bill would make it easier for ex-offenders like myself to share in that experience. Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you. I think Daphne's very powerful testimony is a strong motivator for us all to work hard and get this passed this year. With that, does anyone have any questions? Okay, there's one in the back. David?
Do you perceive much opposition to this bill?
You know, it's early. I think there's a really strong case to make, both social justice case and also a really strong legal case that the state really should be avoiding the liability that goes with having that box on the application. And I'm hoping the combination of those two arguments can give us a good chance of success. I'm also hopeful that regardless of whether the legislative arena works or maybe some help with the governor's office, we find a way to get the state moving in this direction. And I think that we have a lot of options in terms of how we do that. But right now, I'm keeping my fingers crossed we can make a good case for this bill. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Robert Williams from the Second Chances Program in Norfolk. And I was just wondering, have you had a chance to actively engage your Hampton Roads delegation about?
We have. We've talked about it. I can assure you, a number of them have expressed very strong support for this effort, and I'm hopeful will be helpful as we push it forward. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir.
My name is Adrian Glenn. I just got released actually in November this past year. What other kind of programs or initiatives do you guys think you'd be introducing to help people re-enter into society, as far as programs?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. I certainly think there's room for more in Virginia than what we do, but maybe Gail wants to talk a little bit about what programs exist right now and what else we probably need to do.
Be glad to. There are 9 of us who are receive some state funding, and then there are a number who are also working in the field of reentry. So the state is supporting reentry in just about all of the counties in Virginia. Having said that, there are a number of things the state could be doing. One would be to help us facilitate the, and actually inform businesses about the advantages of hiring former offenders. Right now, there are businesses who think they'll get sued if they hire a former offender and something goes wrong. They'll get sued just because it was a former offender. And that's just not true, but they're playing it safe not to do that. There's just a lot of education that needs to be done, and I think the state could do that. On the legislative side, Delegate Patrick Hope has introduced legislation that would have some of the telephone money collected from the prisons shared between the DOC and reentry programs around the state, which would facilitate more work. We had the advantage of an opportunity to meet with Director Harold Clark of the DOC this morning, and he was making some wonderful points about what DOC is able to do prior to release. And our clients were sharing with him that then you come out and you face all the things that adults in our world face, but you've had a loss of self-confidence, you don't have the resources. What is it that, like even the first 90 days, can be helpful, and then someone can be launched at that point? So the reentry programs are critical, and the legislature has supported it and needs to continue and continue to fund it.
Thank you. We can all talk more kind of as we break up the formality of this, but I really appreciate everyone coming today. If you want information about how you can help us, leave us business cards and phone numbers and whatnot, and we'll be be happy to keep you abreast as how we go forward with this bill. If any of you are interested in spending time in Richmond talking to other legislators with us and helping us over the next week with this, we would love to engage you in that. The bill on the House side we don't have a date yet for when it's going to be heard, so we've got some time to work on the committee members and kind of get them comfortable with why this is important. And to the extent any of you here want to help us with that, I think a number of you already have said you would, we'd love your help. Thank you all for coming.